I'm your host, Josie Way. Co-hosting with me tonight is Bill Gannon. Hannon. I've got my letters switched alphabetically, G and H. Tonight we're pleased to have back with us Ned Arvidsson and Susan Fox, who are talking about expressive arts. And one of the expressive arts is poetry. And I've asked Ned if he would read a poem
I'd be happy
of
to.
his.
Right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Get us started off on the right foot.
All right.
Do you have a special favorite?
Not at this point. They're all my favorites at this point. So I'll read you one that I've been thinking about today in relation to what we're doing here tonight.
Oh, your book has artwork in it too.
It does.
Yes, it has.
What's the title of the book?
The book is called Somewhere Beyond All Form. And it's basically, poetry began to come to me unexpectedly. I didn't go seeking for it, but these expressions began to flow through me, and I began to write them down.
Yeah.
And I think it's just really a part of my own healing journey that it was given to me. I have other poetry that isn't in this book, but at the request of the ones who love me, I put the book together to make it available. And it's been such a pleasure to share myself in this way, to be seen and heard in this way. So
Yeah.
this is for all of your audience that is beginning to recognize that deeply rooted in their heart is this deep call for love. And this is kind of goes along with that theme. This poem is called There's a Place in You. There is a place in you which waits to live, a sacred place untouched by shame, a place completely void of blame, a place so far from hurt and harm, a river of a fragrant balm. There is a breath in you which waits to live, a sacred breath untouched by shame, a breath completely void of blame, a breath so far from hurt and harm, a river of a fragrant balm. There is a voice in you which waits to live, a sacred voice untouched by shame, a voice so far from hurt and harm, a river of a fragrant balm. There is a dance in you which waits to live, a sacred dance untouched by shame, a dance completely void of blame, a dance so far from hurt and harm, a river of a fragrant balm. There is a love in you which waits to live, a sacred love untouched by shame, a love completely void of blame, a love so far from hurt and harm, it's a river of a fragrant balm. The waiting is over now. There is no reason for delay. Freedom calls you now. Come, my love, come out and play. Yes, yes, yes. The waiting is over now. There is no reason for delay. Freedom calls you now. Come, my love, come out and play.
Nice. My
Thank you.
child heard that.
Beautiful piece.
Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Expressive
And well read.
opening of the, oh,
Yes.
yeah. There's something like that, expressing yourself not just on paper, but also, using your other instrument, your voice.
Yes, yeah, thank you.
And finding that place in us that wants to come out and be seen. Not only for the poet and the writer and the speaker, but for all of us.
Well, expressive arts is about sharing.
Yes.
It's You don't just do it for yourself. It's better if you share it. Everything is better if you share it. And that's what a lot of your groups do.
They do. They do. We focus on the experience of how they feel as they're creating. But sometimes people choose to keep what they are creating in kind of the personal realm, and that's fine.
That's fine.
That's fine. It's all, what we say to them is it's all good. So they then feel a freedom to decide whether they want to do it or not. Although many times people will see other people sharing and had held back a bit and really wanted the opportunity to be seen and share what was their creative juice. So,
But by being, aware of the private aspect of it, you're building a good foundation internally so that when you do decide to express yourself, you feel comfortable.
right.
Absolutely.
Do you feel it's a matter of safety for some people?
Yes, our dear friend Barbara Ganem says, when someone feels safe, healing just happens.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
and what I find is we don't talk about it or identify it in our workshops, but this process is really about dissolving shame that we carry. Shame about being seen, shame about being heard, shame about being not enough or not valuable or worthy enough. And so we don't direct it at the shame. We don't even talk about shame.
No.
But these modalities are a way to assist people to begin to move beyond that, to see that shame is just something, it's really a lie that we've accepted. And it's just a lie that needs to be let
Right,
go.
that you're not whole.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Yeah. Or not worthy.
Right.
yes.
As the process continues, what I notice begins to happen is we begin to understand ourselves as creative beings, that we are creators all the time. And so as a result, we begin to identify creativity in a very different way. We create thought forms all the time. We're always thinking. We're creating, putting together all sorts of pieces. And from that, a new thought, a new idea, a new framework emerges. So being able to own that we are creators is a powerful place to be.
Right.
And so having these experiences allows people to say, I am a creator.
Right. To recognize that you are a spark of the divine,
Yeah.
which is the creator aspect, and we're here to create with other people,
Yeah.
right?
That
and
divine-
feeling comfortable enough that you're not going to be judged, just to be able to share yourself, and it's surprising sometimes as you're making your way through or looking for a way to express a thought that out of the blue somebody agrees with you and starts to build on what you just said. And that validates your train of thought and recognizing the creator aspect of your divinity.
Absolutely beautiful,
Yeah.
yes.
But I get imagery a lot, and so as a result, when you think of ourselves as creators, it's like these neurons are firing, and you begin to see yourself as this amazing form that is just energy, allowing images, form, thought forms, kinesthetic experiences to all emerge, and we then don't see ourselves as this small form. We see ourselves as a very large form that's activated not only the essence self, but our larger connected essence self. And so we become a force in the world for change, for opportunities to be more in joy. And that's part of what we talk about. We developed this wonderful little journal booklet called Fully Expressed. And right inside the cover, we try to remind everybody. Do you want to read it? Because that was your idea.
Okay, it was.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Experience the joy of your creative expression.
Yeah, that's it. It's joy. It's life force that's filled with love, filled with kind of higher visions for things, activating more of our higher self, not seeing ourselves as small, but connected to whatever you see as higher self or spirit or soul, and living from that place.
One of the things you're not saying, but I'm hearing, is the more that you do this and allow the expressions to come out, the more wants to come out. That there is more there. It manifests a transformation.
Well, it percolates.
Yeah.
Percolates. It ferments.
Absolutely.
And it starts to express itself.
You're with your mushrooms again.
And with your hands. Did you see how you just want to animate them? That's so wonderful. We do. We want to be in the world in ways that we move, that the body engages. Beautiful.
Sure, and eventually it gets to the point where you start to master it, which is, I guess, one of the things that you want to be able to reach some type of level where you're able to master the expression and feeling comfortable with people to be able to share your thoughts and let them, bloom.
Yeah, to
When
to
you s-
consciously manifest
Yeah.
all
Nice.
these things
Nicely put.
instead of unconsciously.
Yeah.
Because we do create unconsciously a lot.
Yes. Yep. And also, when you use the term master, part of what I kind of feel is that mastering is just being ourselves. Isn't that what you're talking about in your poem?
Essentially.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
So it is, I think, our greatest desire to feel as though we're fully lived. You have a great quote. Do you want to share that? The Dina Metzger
Oh,
quote?
the Dina Metzger quote, yes. This is one of my favorite quotes that I came upon a number of years ago, but it still inspires me. And it's by Dina Metzger out of her book, Writing for Your Life. And it simply says, beauty appears when something is completely and absolutely and openly itself.
Powerful.
Being authentic.
Exactly, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
The sad thing is many of us don't even know who we are authentically.
Right.
And by expressing it more and more, we begin to see who we really are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
And
Well,
if I may,
yeah.
we find out that we are the divine, ultimately, or an expression of the divine.
Right.
Certainly.
I mean, I capture that even in my email address. Who the hell are you?
Yeah, you answer the phone like
so
that.
great.
Soul. Who the hell are you? Soul@gmail.com. So, this way, this is my train of thought, basically what you're saying right here. And if I've incorporated it into my daily feeling comfortable with myself, knowing that nobody has authority over me because I have one relationship with the source. You have no authority over me, and this way I can just be myself.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. In our journey, the spectrum towards authenticity, of opening our hearts and really being who we truly are, it's one of it's one of small risks of trying it. Well, and so safety is so important because we need a friend or a group that will provide that safety where we can risk being real, we can risk being authentic. But then we progress, we become more comfortable with it.
And stronger, not just, you
Yeah.
develop a spine.
Yes. So we do,
Right,
absolutely.
right.
And we become vigilant for our true self, which is a beautiful thing. It would be arrogant of me to withhold from the world who I really am. The world wants who I really am, I just don't know it, and they don't.
That's why you're here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. We all come with a purpose, and we're all interconnected. I suppose there might be one lone monk up on a mountain that it's that person's purpose to just be the monk on the mountain.
Holding a
Or the fool
beautiful
on the hill.
vision.
I mean,
Yeah, there you
go
go.
back to the Beatles, the fool on the hill. I mean, it's basically what you feel that you're there for at that point in time. But in order to encompass that and be able to share your space with other people and allow them to feel comfortable to share themselves with you.
Absolutely.
And I'd like to add, not just people. I've been swimming with dolphins, and what an impression they made on me. But I've also started learning sign language because I wanted to paint with Coco, the gorilla. Unfortunately, Coco has died, but there are other gorillas who now paint and can title their pieces so that they really have a thought process that we can interact with. But we begin to see that consciousness exists in all forms. And so part of this work allows us to have that connection with whether it's the gorillas or the dolphins or the
Trees.
Exactly.
Right. I mean,
Even rocks have an essence,
So
They
as
have
a
a vibration.
consciousness.
right. They do have a frequency.
Yes.
Right. So we're beginning the process of really not creating a hierarchy necessarily, but more of an equity for all life.
Well, if we did a hierarchy, I have a feeling that
The angels, you were going to say. Yes.
no, that some of the sea mammals the cetaceans might be higher up than we are.
Yes. Yes.
We wouldn't be so pleased with ourselves.
Yeah. Quite a phenomenal experience to be reminded all the time that,
Yeah,
that
we
we are all in.
polluted the oceans and everything.
Yeah. Definitely.
May I share a metaphor that I like to share with people? It's the metaphor of the flower, and it has so much to do with the work that we do. People who work with nature and plants often use the term that the plant will grow to full expression. And so let's talk about the flower. The flower is the seed. It germinates, it sprouts, it becomes this sprout, this tender sprout, and it begins to grow in maturity toward full expression. The full expression is now the flowering and the fragrance and the essence that it just radiates to anyone who walks by. And it's simply naturally itself. And for me, that's the metaphor of my life. I want to grow to full expression. I want to become naturally who I really am. And it's effortless. It's natural. It just happens of its own accord as we remove the blocks, as we get out of the way. And it's just this, to me, I'm just all excited right now thinking about it. This work is giving people permission and inviting them to grow to full expression, to become so natural in their flow of life that they become who they really are. And it's truly a gift. Their fragrance is a gift to the world.
And it's not work.
It's not
Most of
work.
us are told that we have to work hard to be something.
And you can't play now because you have to work hard.
Well, you'll change all of that.
That's a misconception.
Yeah,
And it's interesting when you listen to words,
Yeah.
misconception
sure.
or not a conception. So it's just interesting
Yeah.
how many words are in front of us all the time, and it's right there in black and white, and yet we don't recognize the root of that word.
Yes.
And what we thought once was work is no longer work. We can arrive in our
Sure,
jobs. We can
sure.
arrive in what we need to do, take
Yeah.
care of the things that we have to take care of,
Right.
with a totally different view
Right.
of what's happening.
So am I just playing on the words that your train of thought right there is to discover.
Yes.
And to discover means discover or uncover.
Uncover, beautiful.
And it's, I mean, again, that's one thing I've learned in studying law, is that all these words, if you look at them and break them up into 2 or 3 words, and it's right there,
It is.
Yeah. And they've done a very good job of hiding the real meaning,
Yes.
Yes.
and it's up to us to uncover and discover what the real meaning is.
Yeah.
So,
Nicely put, yes.
Beautiful. Yeah.
right.
Very
So,
I had an experience that sort of talks to that. When I was working at my last job, it was very stressful. And Spirit made it clear to me that I could help the stress that people were experiencing. And after that, I looked forward to going to work. I didn't take as much stress on myself because I knew I could help people, that was a purpose for me. I could help people relieve their stress
Sure.
through divine messages and stuff like that. And work stopped being work. It became a pleasure to go.
An opportunity to change the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
To change a few people's perspectives on the world.
Nice.
very good. Yeah, there's
Where do you see
Go ahead.
you're going in the future? We talked a little about this before. Not you, Susan.
I'm in the middle of a bridge. It's bridging two experiences.
You're in divine hands right now.
I am, yes. But do you want to add a little bit about where you're seeing some of your work?
It's, well, my theme this year is activating an inspired life, entering pathways to the authentic heart. So where I'm going really is to be a voice for inspiration. And for me, tapping into my heart, hearing the voice of my heart, and realizing that there's something that I want to do and I do it really well, which is facilitate groups. There's not much else on my resume. I've done a lot of things, but I can show up and really provide a context very sincerely to give people permission and help them to really connect with their own voice, with their own inspiration. And inspiration can be very simple. It can be as simple as responding to the inspiration to call a friend. But that's living an inspired life by listening to that prompt and calling them. And what happens is when we follow the prompts of inspiration, there's this sense of that life is flowing. Life is easy. Life is meaningful. And life is giving back to me. I give and it gives back to me. And it's energetic.
Truly, when you're working with inspiration, whatever you give out comes back. It's not work at all.
No, it's not.
Everything comes back to you. And it's such a beautiful feeling. You can almost say, I'm not even working, and it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's fatigue begins to drop away. And it really becomes an infusion of energy, of this elevated and enlivening energy, which is really, you can't really explain to people what's going to happen, but you can invite them to try something, to try this, to try a modality, If you've never gone to a gong bath, try it. You know, whatever it is, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I am here to serve and support the path of the individual, whatever that is. I'm not here to give a prescription that you need to follow the way that I go. I'm here to champion your way and to cheerlead your way, because it's the only way for you. You know.
Yeah, and it's amazing the different ways people find to be inspired.
Yes.
Yeah.
Creativity is just an amazing force on the planet, and it's not just people, but it's animals. Creating is just a natural part of the evolution process, and when people tap into their own creativity, they begin to see not only what is part of their essence, but the ability to make or to design or to bring forth comes out, and that's one important way to know ourselves. So.
The other thing that happens is old ways drop off, fall by the waysides, and you don't need them. You don't need as many things. You realize the value of people and animals and the whole world, and Mother Nature, and you realize the value of our oceans, our air. You realize the value of all of it, because you're no longer struggling to be someone that other people think you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I mean, we've touched on it before, but if somebody wants to
Get in touch with you.
With expressing themselves, and they see this might be a good avenue for them to pursue, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, for me, they could just email me at sfoxart@aol.com.
Okay.
And for Ned?
For me, it's simple. My name is Ned Arvidsson, and my website is nedarvidsson.com.
Okay.
And
All right.
all my information is there.
You'll have to excuse me. I don't think I could spell your last name. Could you just tell us how? Just spell it?
Certainly. ARVIDSON.
Hey, very good.
Thank you for asking.
Yes. All right. Excellent. So, well, that's great then. So, again, these usually take a couple months before they get aired. So, for our viewership to have an idea as to what's going on, this is a good way for them to make a connection with you.
Absolutely.
Right.
And on my website, I do have a calendar, so by the fall of 2019,
Yes.
They can go and see my calendar on my website, all the events that I have on the calendar.
Okay. Great. Great.
I'm in the process of scheduling those dates at the moment.
Very good.
And
Okay.
Susan is, what's the right word? I keep thinking of the chrysalis.
Right,
and
the
butterfly.
metamorphosis, yeah.
Yes, you're metamorphosizing.
Yeah. Well, I'm still doing some creative coaching and mentoring. I have some executives that I work with that are open to the creative process, and it's a very expansive thing to apply to some of the challenges they have in the corporate world. So I'm doing that, but as I move more and more into my own writing and painting, it's getting exciting for me, and everything is getting much clearer.
Thank you. I'd like to say thank you to the audience, and please come back. We will have lots of wonderful, interesting guests.
Yeah.
I was going to say spirits.
Yeah. Well, we probably have those tagging
Yes, they're
along
here
as well.
too.
It's all good.
Right?
Yep.
But also, I mean, we've been putting up on these shows, for people that may have an interest to call.
Yes, please.
And this way, it's good for us to meet and get different ideas and share with people, some information that they could use
Yeah.
to work.
If anyone is interested in working on our show, we're all volunteers, and you can call me at 575-6450.
Excellent.
Look forward to seeing you.